Hello and welcome to today's lecture. So today we will be looking at planning and implementation of divergent and convergent thinking. So some of the key principles of divergent thinking are that divergent thinking is not a linear or logical process. So unlike some problems that need one to be logical in their thinking process, connect the dots and come to the most viable solution. So unlike that, divergent thinking is where we will be looking at many ideas that may seemingly not be the traditional solution to a certain problem, and also that we may have certain preconceived notions with our upbringing, with what our awareness about what we see around us is. So sometimes we may have certain preconceived notions. So this is also something which helps break from those kind of mental blocks. So encourage idea fluency is, this is a process where we encourage the team members to come up with as many ideas as possible. Here the quantity is really important. We are going to be refining the ideas later on based on the three important elements that we have earlier seen, which is the desirability, viability, and feasibility. But in the beginning of this stage, we are not really evaluating ideas based on that. So we are just looking at coming up with number of ideas and how can we get creative. So there are several activities which help the out of the box thinking, and then that helps in coming up with many ideas that we can work with later on. Embrace unconventional combinations. So divergent thinking also allows us to see at ideas which are conventionally not to be put together, in the sense that they could be two different ideas. So embrace unconventional combinations. So divergent thinking also allows one and encourages one actually to put together things which may not seem relatable or may not seem to go together hand in hand, because divergent thinking is stretching our constraints. It is going beyond what is considered normal or what is considered acceptable. So here we are looking at solutions that may not seem relatable to each other, but how can those concepts be put together to come up with these ideas? And suspend judgment. So we come up with our set of biases, we come up with our set of judgment. So the divergent thinking encourages us to keep all these biases and judgments aside and have an open mind when coming up with the idea generation process. On the other hand, the convergent thinking is where we have to use our affirmative judgment, wherein we have to see the positive of all the ideas that have been generated. So we are not trying to jump to the final idea here. So we are focusing on the positives and we are overlooking the negatives in the ideas that we have generated in the divergent stage. So creativity needs to be kept alive. So we have to embrace the ideas, and like we said, we explored in divergent that seemingly unrelated ideas, when they're put together, can come up with something new, something which has not been thought of before. So we have to be open minded and embrace these new ideas, and we should not dismiss them at the first go, but see that what kind of potential they may have. Be persistent. Now this process can sometimes be a little bit frustrating. It can be wherein we may notice that we are not able to come up with a perfect solution, or we are not able to identify how to proceed. But this process is something which requires our effort, in the sense of not giving up, and we have to be persistent. We have to keep on going with the process and check our objectives. So it is important that we are aware and in touch with what our objectives were when we started this process. Sometimes we may observe that when we have a lot of ideas, we may get some other application of some idea and we may identify a new problem, but we have done this exercise, the divergent convergent thinking of bringing the team together and solving the problem we started with. So we have to keep our focus that the original problem or the gap that we have identified, we need to find a solution for that. So we have to keep ourselves on track. So planning and implementation. So planning involves a balance between generating creative ideas and making logical decisions. So this is an example from Brazil. So I will be explaining this little example wherein how this particular company applied this divergent and convergent thinking to come up with the solution for their specific problem. So this is in Brazil when after COVID, so the manpower was going down, and this case is of a particular company, a furniture company, which were coming up with this luxury furniture. And because of COVID, their business, of course, like many others, was hit because they were up till that point they were designing the furniture and all the furniture was man made. So they had a big team of laborers who was designing and manufacturing this furniture by hand, and it had a great demand. So the demand of course remained, but because the manpower went down and also the company was not able to cater to their clients, so then they had to sit down and think of how they can increase their productivity, as well as how can they also maintain the manpower so that the handmade quality of the work also remained. So we can see here that how they conducted the divergent thinking, wherein they went ahead with brainstorming. So they involved the production coordinator, the operations director, finance directors, the consulting companies, and so all of those major stakeholders who sat and did the brainstorming process. And during this process, they realized that the company needed to automate some of their processes. So, because the manpower was low and it was not enough to come up with the quality of furniture that they are known to come up with. So, now they decided that they had to automate because they will not be able to do without that. But at the same time, they did not want to lose the essence of the manual work. So, the quality they did not want to compromise with. So, they also discussed that which actions can be applied to train and qualify the current team that they had to improve the quality of the workforce and whereby maintaining the maximum preservation of the manual work. So, that was one of their key outcomes, that they did want to give the employment to this manpower, and they also wanted them for their finesse when it came to their work that they produced. So now when it comes to the automation part, so we can see they've identified that the CNC machine, which is a computer numeric control machine, that would be an ideal machine because it will also maintain the quality of the products, the symmetry will be maintained. And now here, after divergent stage, they had very clear objectives that they wanted to automate some parts and they had to purchase a CNC router so that they could automate some of the crucial steps of the manufacturing process, and that would help them increase their capacity, and at the same time it would also preserve the manual work. So then they went ahead to conduct their market survey as to identify the different types of CNC machines that were available, and based on the criteria that they were looking for, that they had identified, so now they would do the market study to identify which CNC machine would fit the exact description, so that the decision to automate as well as keep the man force in the process, and that would be possible to do. So when it comes to planning and implementation in the divergent thinking stage, so we have to define the problem. So the problem needs to be defined well, and the brainstorming activity helps us come up with many ideas we saw in the previous example. And then how do we logically record these ideas so that when we go to the next stage, the convergent stage, So there we are able to take them forward and come up with the best possible solution. So when we are planning in the convergent thinking stage, so we are now evaluating the ideas and we are narrowing down the options. So we have seen in one of the earlier lectures also that how we use certain sifting techniques based on set criteria, that how these ideas can be narrowed down to the solution that is the most viable and feasible, and it is also desirable. And then finally that helps us make a decision and implement our decision. So the implementation is where the selected ideas are put into practice and they are made into reality. So we saw in the previous example that how the application of this thinking process helped the company come up with their solution which worked best for their outcomes that they wanted. Now this is an example from Twitter. So Twitter, when it started, it did not really have a very clear goal that what they wanted to do. So they had many different ideas that they would be a platform where SMS could be sent. They had some limitation on the number of words that could be typed in. So they had many ideas that how this platform could be utilized. So when they launched the service, so they observed how people were using it. So they saw that how people were using hashtags or some other kind of activities they were performing, and then this helped them refine their application to what it is now, where it is an important social media application. So when we are transitioning from divergent to the convergent stage, so we have to have a deliberate mindset shift which is necessary. So during this phase, the designers establish clear criteria for evaluating the ideas, and these ideas typically include feasibility. So a question that one may ask is, can the idea be implemented? So is it feasible? The impact. So how valuable is this idea? Is it going to have any impact, positive impact? And third is alignment with the user needs. So does it address the problem? Is it going to solve any problem that we have? So as we saw in the Twitter example, that when this platform was created and it was not having very specific goals, but by observing the behavior of the users, one could see that this is what the users want. So this is some activity that they want to perform, and then it was streamlined towards what the users wanted. So this is, we can see that how the divergent and convergent steps can be utilized because they are open-ended and it allows the stakeholders themselves to arrive at a solution. So implementation in the divergent thinking is where we are generating a wide range of ideas without any judgment or criticism, and having a brainstorming session where we are coming up with quick ideation, and also we are using mind maps to put the results of brainstorming on the paper. So whereas in the convergent thinking, we are evaluating the ideas based on the feasibility, viability and desirability using the decision matrix. So these are some ways in which we can evaluate them, wherein the decision matrix will have certain factors, and then we will have to see whether the product is feasible, viable, desirable, and we can use some scoring method to arrive at a decision. And also we have to look for any issues, any problems in the idea which we may not have thought of initially. So now we will see another interesting example of the application planning and implementation. So this is a case study of the Lucky Iron Fish project, and this problem is set in Cambodia. So where people are living below poverty level, and where over these people who are living below poverty line, they are big in number. So 2 billion people are affected by anemia, which is where the red blood cells are less, and this can lead to many problems, and especially in women when the hemoglobin is low, the iron is less, so it can give rise to many other complications. So this was a problem that was existing in Cambodia, and there were many other issues why it could not be controlled or a solution could not be found. So Christopher Charles took up this problem, and the goal was to make anemia treatment accessible, affordable, and easy to use. So now Charles started the design thinking process to find the solution that would make it easy to ingest iron. So when he conducted research, he found that, of course, there are external pills and other forms in having the adding iron to our body, but he found that because affordability is a big issue, so these people could not afford those supplements and could not add in their diet. So now it had to be added in the diet via a more affordable means. So while conducting the research, he also found that if the food is cooked, if there is some water or some soup or liquid which is cooked in an iron vessel, so the iron leaches into the liquid from the utensil and it can add iron to their diet via being cooked in that vessel. So now the issue with that was when he went on the ground, he saw that the iron vessels are not very affordable. So they are, first is the issue of the cost, affordability. The other is that they are heavy also. So the local people were not used to using those utensils. And third, he identified that when people were cooking and there was some leftover food, so they tend to leave that food in the same utensil so that it can be consumed later. And when food is left in the iron container after being cooked, it is left in the container, so there is a possibility that the food will go bad, it will maybe cause more harm. So because of these reasons, which involved a lot of behavior on the part of the user that had to be changed, because buying and then getting used to the weight and then changing the behavior of storing the food in a different manner, so it would discourage people from using these utensils. So then he had to come up with another way which would help them add iron to their food but not change their behavior so much. So then he again ideated and came up with the idea that what if the food is not cooked in the iron vessel, but iron is added to the food that is being cooked in the vessel. So which means adding a small piece of iron while the food is getting cooked. So he came up with a bar of iron, and then he observed how people were using it. So he saw that people were not very keen on using this strange item because they were really not sure why they have to add it into their pot while they're cooking. So they had some alternate uses of this block of iron, which is as a paperweight or as a door stopper. So it was not really feasible. So then he worked on the design of this iron bar and changed into the shape of a disc. So now again this disc was appreciated by the villagers, but they still were not able to understand that why do they have to add this to their food. So Charles then further conducted his study. He spent more time in the village, and then he saw that there are certain motifs that this village is using, like a flower which was from some Buddhist teachings. So then he got this iron made into the motif in the shape of that flower. So although it was appreciated because it was a very good looking object to have, but the people again were not sure why are they adding this flower to their food. So there was still a gap between the problem and the solution. So then finally Charles came up with an iron fish, because he observed that a lot of people here were catching fish. It was means of their livelihood, and also they were consuming fish almost daily in their meals. So this iron fish now resembles another of their fishes, and because they are eating fish also, so now they have no issue in adding this iron fish to their pot. And then they have to, what they have to do is, after it is done, is to remove this iron fish from the pot and clean it up and keep it on the side to be used the next preparation. And when he went back to the village and compared the blood samples that he had collected before starting with this exercise, he found that a large number of people were getting their daily dose of iron with this lucky fish, and he saw that almost 90% of people were actually still using this lucky fish in their food preparation. So it was a good indication that how people are going to be able to cheaply include iron in their food, and also they're having better energy levels. Children are more active, people are able to do more activities as compared to before when they were more anemic. So this is an interesting example where we saw that how there is a problem and then how are we going back and forth and not just imposing one solution, but we are testing it on the user group and identifying why this is not working, why it is being rejected. Again, going back on the board, coming up with more, another prototype, testing it until we find a prototype that people are accepting. So, we will stop here for today, and I will see you all in the next lecture. Thank you.